All right. I get started here momentarily. Right. Let's get to it. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we have a stop loss hit on SFP versus Tether. We didn't enter that trade, so that's good. We have an invalidation of a buy on CHZ versus Tether. We've got a long on WLFI versus Tether. And that's going to be targeting 1664. Mm-hmm. All right, this is buy WLFI. Risk is 3.82. Entry is 15.15. Stop is 14.76. And take profit is 16.64. All right. And there's the first call for Twitter. Here's the first call for everyone else. WLFI versus Tether, 15-minute buy. Entry price is 0.1515. Stop loss is 0.1476 for 39 pips. Take profit is 0.1664 for 149 pips. And a risk to reward ratio of 3.82. Again, that's a buy on WLFI versus Tether. All right, we have stop loss hit on NEO versus Tether. We did not enter that original trade, so we're fine there. We also have a validation of a trade on NEO versus USD, the spot version. We didn't enter that original trade either. And we have a sell on AVA versus Tether, targeted 1.35. And risk is 4.93. Entry at 1.616. Stop at 1.67. That's for 54 pips. And take profit at 1.35. And here's the next call for Twitter. And the next call for everyone else. AVA, EVAA versus Tether, 15-minute sell. The entry price is 1.616. The stop loss is 1.670 for 54 pips. The take profit is 1.350 for 266 pips. And a risk to reward ratio of 4.93. Again, that's EVAA versus Tether. All right, let's check out what's going on here. First, we'll check news. And negative news on Great British Pound. We have the Euro, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar all on bank holiday today. Other than that, no major news. All right, so the Senate actually passed the bill to end the shutdown and passed it to the House of Representatives. If you're watching the news in the United States, do not get confused because these people are politically illiterate and keep saying that they've come to an agreement to reopen the government. They have not done so. The bill has only passed the U.S. Senate. It has not passed the House. Hasn't even been brought to the floor yet. And even then, when it passes both of the houses of Congress, it still has to be agreed upon between the Senate and the House before they pass it to the president. So it passes the U.S. Senate, it passes the U.S. House, they do a reconciliation bill, they do a final vote, and then it's sent to the president for signature. After the president signs the bill, that's when the government reopens. Has nothing to do when the bill is passed through Congress. Frustrating. All right, so negative futures on all U.S. markets. Positive futures on the UK 100, the France 40, and the German 30. Negative futures on the Japanese Nikkei 225, the Hong Kong 50, and the Asian 200. And negative futures on Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, and Solana. So the entire market's getting smashed up. Let's follow the money real quick. You have money flowing out of most of the top 100, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. The fact that cash is flowing out of Bitcoin and Ethereum means that altcoins are receiving money. So that's for the day, but what about the last hour? It means money's flowing out of the top 100 as well. I wonder if money's going to money's flowing out of everything. So that's why the market is falling. You got net cash outflows in most of the cryptocurrencies in the top 1,000. Okay, that's making a lot more sense now. Okay, so that's why the market is down. It's just net cash outflows from cryptocurrency, period. As you can see, it's pretty much the entire market. And those are the cryptocurrencies from BTCC. It's pretty much every single one of them. Here are the cryptocurrencies from liquid brokers, pretty much all of them. And here are the top spot cryptos. All of them are down. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin. It is net down for the day. It is broken below the Asian range for the day. Still in an uptrend on the 15-minute. So that's where we'll track it. It's unlikely to be going back up because it fell from a sell order block. And it's below 1 now, which means it's likely to continue to go further down if it can't break this resistance. Take a look at fair value gaps. So it could fall into a bit of consolidation between these two. Let's go down in time frame and see if we can see what's going on. So we got trapper price around 105,400 and 105,400 and 104,800. So not a lot. You got to buy 1,400. Yeah, 104,800. There's a buy order there. Breaks through that, where we're headed. Okay, I don't even see that at the 30-minute, so it could break through that easily. We have multiple orders at the 1 hour. So that's where it's hovering. That's an artificial top. Whenever you see a nice even number like that, 107,500, that's an institutional move. It's mathematically impossible for retail traders to make something like Bitcoin stop at an even number like that. So this is a liquidity pool. It waited for people to get FOMO about it going long, went to a hard stop, and then dropped the price. So all of this is about the fallout. So we got a double buy order. One at 104,900. The other one at 104,800. Breaks those is going to fall to 103. And then we're in free fall at that point. To another double buy order. The first one basically at 100,000. And the last one at 99,500. Yeah. So you got a downtrend on the 4 hour with a straight drop down to 99,000 and change. I think that's where we're headed long term. It's going to break 100,000 again. Yep. It's heading back down to test that 100,000 zone. For some reason, it's a psychological number for Bitcoin. The support is actually a little below that, around 98,000. All right, so we're doing a little bit more of a push, but suffice it to say, it may be a pretty big day for profit for us if the bottom continues to fall out of this. So our top currency in profit is KSM versus Tether. We're now in 112 different positions in cryptocurrency. Actually 114 positions in cryptocurrency. And that's just crypto. We have other positions open. Let's take a look at the rest. Slightly positive on precious metals, negative on oil and natural gas. Pretty big moves on all Great British Pound pairs. We took a look on that. It was negative news against GBP. Very light movement on Japanese yen. Currency strength. New Zealand dollar is the world's strongest currency. Great British Pound is way low. Yikes. Might be close to buy territory for Great British Pound versus New Zealand dollar. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that's definitely a pretty huge vector. That's not going to hold. So if you're looking for a nice snack, what you want to do is you want to drop down to a lower time frame on Great British Pound versus New Zealand dollar. You want to look for signs of a bottom. So on the 1 minute, it broke down below the Asian range. And what you're looking for is a cross of the 5 and 13 EMA. You need the 5 to be over the 13. And then you would enter on the next candle. So this isn't done dropping yet. But it is way, way, way over ADR. So to be quite honest, you might be served to go ahead and preemptively hop into an order on this. It will fall a little further, but it's not going to go much further for a buy on Great British Pound and New Zealand dollar. So I expect us to get buy orders on Great British Pound today. Not on USD. That's not a breakout. Neither is Japanese yen. Or Swiss franc. Or Canadian dollar. Australian dollar is one. So the two to watch would be Great British Pound versus Australian dollar and Great British Pound versus New Zealand dollar for buys. Let's check out exotics. Again, pretty big moves on Great British Pound versus Norwegian krone. That's another opportunity for a buy. That's the bottom of the Asian range right here. Price is way down here. Same thing on Great British Pound versus Danish krone, but it's a very weak breakout from the Asian market. And certainly Great British Pound versus Swedish krona. Again, another weak breakout of the Asian market. So the one to look for exotic would be Great British Pound versus Norwegian krone. That's a pretty significant drop. It's 237 pips below the Asian range. So you'd be looking at retracement back up to the 50 EMA. It's about 666 pips. No crazy movement on USD pairs, but then again, it is a bank holiday. So look for action on Great British Pound because of the major news. You probably want to avoid USD pairs and Canadian dollar pairs today. You're not going to be able to really tell direction with those currencies on bank holiday. So you don't get FOMO. What did I just do? Messed up my setup. All right, it's now 2:30 in the morning. We got two more setups. We have the German 30. We have BGA. That's on a buy. It's on a 1 hour, so that's going to pop off at 3:30 in the morning. We'll get a setup for a sell on the German 30. That's an indice. It is more heavily weighted than a regular currency pair, so be careful on your lot size when we enter this trade. And we have a setup on a long for Australian dollar versus Japanese yen. That'll come off at 2:45 in the morning. And generally, the way this works is you generally have a breakout of the Asian range, followed by a reversal of price in the next candle, and then a buy. So you have your first workings of an Elliott wave type of movement where price goes up, price comes down, and then price continues up again. We call this a Patrick push. You're looking for a push of price action down to the 5 and 13 EMA, and then up. I don't really like this setup though because it's action within the Asian range, and that to me is normally consolidation. It's a stronger setup when there's a breakout to the bottom of the Asian range looking for a buy, and that never happened. It never broke market structure. I think this is going to be a bad entry for us, so we're going to avoid this one for now. The German 31 looks much better. All right, so with that, we got our next entry at 240 for the futures market and at 245 for the rest of the market. So now we wait. Take a look at KSM, which is the one most in profit. Just gonna find where the darn trade is. I even had this darn thing marked off properly. That's fine. Go back to Bitcoin. Now down almost 1,000 points. Still below the Asian range. I'll be right back. I need to turn off this air conditioner. I'm going to be freezing in here. So for those of you kind of curious on what the setup looks on behind the scenes, this happens to be one of my brokers. This is BTCC. And this is what the platform behind the scenes looks like. I exclusively use this platform only to trade crypto perpetuals because it has pairs that my main broker, Liquid Brokers, does not have. So I have a mini setup of the setup that I have on TradingView here, where I can look at the charts. It gives me a visible representation of the order blocks. So I get an idea of at various price points, what's the percentage of buys versus sells in the market and where the money is. So I can visually see it in time. And it breaks it down by different price points. Now, this broker has X leverage. So I literally have to tell it how much money I want to wager. And then it tells me what the margin is based off of that. So on this position on KSM versus Tether, which we're in right now, I'm wagering $642.35. I'm currently up $1,069. And when it hits take profit, we'll bank out at $4,347 on this one trade. So down here is basically where it's going to tell you where it's at. It's going to tell you your number of positions, your open orders. We're in 114 different trades right now on this broker. Balance is at 277. My P&L is at negative 23. Again, you open a trade, you're going to start in the negative. So because I'm in so many trades, it's kind of like a ball rolling downhill for me. The P&L is constantly going closer and closer to the positive while these trades are rolling off and hitting take profit. And that's kind of what it looks like for me. So in days like last Thursday and last Friday, when we call a lot of trades, I believe we called out 81 trades between those 2 days. That starts an avalanche of profit. So it takes about, I don't know, on average about 47 days before you see the relative effect of most of that book of business. Then when that rolls off, you get more avalanches of trades. And because we trade in different assets, we have crypto perpetuals, crypto spots, Forex, major, minor, and exotic. We trade commodities, we trade futures, we trade stocks. We constantly have money flowing from different places. And that's the way it works for me on the back end. So I'm just kind of constantly monitoring that stuff. My trading view, you guys are already familiar with that. I also have where I'm dropping in stuff on Telegram. So I call for 2 different groups. I have one group that I call for one of my mentors in the market, Patrick Kinney. So I'm using his strategy right now, and I'm dropping the signals into that group for 187 different people. I have my own private group, Project Genesis. I've been calling trades for them for 12 years now. Got 109 members here. We're constantly dropping news items and such in here next to one another that are interesting. And then I keep track of my trades over here. So from February the 3rd till now, we're at 1,143 wins versus 861 losses for a win-rate percentage of 57.06%. And number of hits won is 4,494,169. So I believe the last trade that we won was on BTCC. Then this color-coded system, that's how we're calling trades. We have major, minor Forex, exotics, so green and yellow, spot and perpetual cryptocurrencies, blue and purple, indices, metals, oil, natural gas, and the futures and stocks. This is listed in order by the risk associated with each pair. And it's also weighted by the margin that most people or most brokers ask you to take when you're taking these trades. So obviously, futures and stocks require significantly more margin than everything else. That's where they're listed last. So that's the setup. When we get to trading view, here's the list of all the different asset classes. And every 15 minutes, it goes through all the different alerts that are already set up and automated to pump out opportunities for us to enter the market. So I have alerts on the 15-minute, the 30-minute, the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the 3-month, and the 6-month. So I can do everything from trades that are very short-lived all the way up to swing trades. And all of those are automatically marked off for us. So it takes out the guesswork, takes out most of the thinking I have to do. So I no longer have to worry about missing a trade setup. I just have to evaluate each one and get us into the trade to make money. So those are the nuts and bolts. So right now we're simulcasting using StreamYard. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Nemo TV, Kick, Apple TV, Amazon TV, and iHeartRadio. Welcome to you all. Hope you guys are having a great morning. It's now 2:45. I don't hear any extra dings. So it takes about 3 minutes for a trading view to get through all the assets that we do trade. So around 2:48 a.m. when we don't have anything, then we'll wait until the next ticker, which will be at 2:55 a.m. for the futures market and 3 a.m. sharp for the rest of the market. 3 a.m. is going to be a 4-hour candle for the crypto market, which goes from 7 to 7 each day. There's also generally when we see an acceleration of price for Bitcoin and the rest of the market. So in the middle of about 1 hour after London opens, you see an inflow of cash, buy or sell into the crypto market. And that gives you a lot of opportunities to enter. So if you're looking kind of for the perfect time to take trades on cryptocurrencies, look for about 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. It's normally when you're going to get a lot of opportunities. And your take profits are going to come very quickly. And there's a big news item. But normally, you're going to get the effect of a lot of fast-moving trades on cryptocurrency from about 10 a.m. to noon Central Standard Time. 10 a.m. is the closing bell of the London Stock Exchange, and 12 p.m. is the start of the lunch hour in New York. So after the opening bell in New York, where there's more money that flows into the market, and right before lunch is normally when you see a lot of those trades hit take profit. Boy. All right, so it looks like we're not getting anything for 2:45. So we'll be waiting until 3 a.m. for our next opportunities to enter the market. I would assume because commodities are quiet and also indices are too. And the big one is because we have a bank holiday on the US dollar. It is unlikely the futures market is going to move a lot. So most of our opportunities are going to be in cryptocurrency, at least tonight. 10 minutes left to go to the quarter to the top of the hour. Got something on euro versus the Swedish krona. Let's take a look. And stop loss hit on the original setup. That's fine. It's not a very heavily weighted Forex pair, so no big deal. I didn't even bother to use a stop loss on this. I'm down like $9.43 on it. Just wait for it to fart around. It's not going to make much of a difference for me anyway. All right, about 5 minutes left to go to the top of the hour. All right. Had to look that up. It's Veterans Day today, which explains why it's a U.S. holiday. Shout out to all of you who have served before. Appreciate your service. Hmm. All right. Got less than 30 seconds left to go to the top of the hour. Hopefully, we get to see some fireworks here. About to find out. Again, this is going to be a 4-hour candle for the entire crypto market. All right, we've got a sell on euro versus Canadian dollar. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. All right, this is a 15 minutes, so this will mark itself off at 3:15. We'll enter this on a sell. And in 30 minutes, we get the sell on the German 30. Hmm. Hmm. Yikes. So I don't know if you guys have heard of James Wynn before. He's a very aggressive crypto trader. And he's known for being aggressive. He got liquidated 12 times yesterday. And now his trading account has $6,010 in it. This is why you don't go all in on one cryptocurrency and not understand direction. You don't revenge trade. I'll show this to you guys. This is a very huge example. So he realized an unrealized profit of 66,465. So that means he was up 66,465 in his account after losing 45 consecutive trades. That means he had 5 longs on Bitcoin. And even after losing 45 trades, now he was still up 66,465. And instead of closing the remaining trades and taking his money, he lost everything and dropped down to $6,010. So it was up 66K and then stupidly stayed in the trade and lost another 60,000. He had Bitcoin dropping between 67,000 and 92,000. No way in hell it's getting here. It would take an act of God for it to drop below 98,000 right now. And you have to remember it took an announcement by the President of the United States on 100% tariffs on China for it to drop to 102. And it took the longest shutdown in U.S. history for the federal government for the drop below 100,000. And it stayed there for less than 2 hours. What a buffoon. So after the 4-hour candle, we do see some retracement of the crypto market to the buy side. So there's a little bit of Elliott wave action here, which looks something like this. Price has been declining. Now price is on a sharp retracement, and then price will continue to decline. Here's the upward movement here. My bet, price goes up and touches the 50 EMA, which is currently sitting at 105.615, and then continues to decline. And that's worst case scenario. I don't think it has any chance of recovering all of that price action. And that's because of the order blocks above it. Remember, it came from a buy order block. So the top of the Asian range was the 50% of the order block that's above here. These wicks, which were the top of most recent structure, were below the 50% of this wick, which is another order block. That's a lot of resistance. So even if by some miracle it gets past the 50 EMA, it's not breaking through all of this resistance to keep going up. It's more likely to break this little paltry support here and the bottom fall out of Bitcoin. Particularly because the US dollar's on bank holiday, so there's no liquidity to make it go higher. It's looking like it won't even make it to the 50 EMA. And anyway, we got about 4 minutes left to the quarter of the hour, 3:15 a.m. No immediate calls for the futures market, as we predicted about 15 minutes ago, on the strength of the fact that the U.S. dollar is on bank holiday today. So we have more waiting. Yikes. All right. Pretty close to getting our sell on Euro CAD. Same concept. We have a cross of the 5 and 13 EMA, so sellers have control of the market. We enter on the close of the very next candle. During that candle, price retraces into price action, giving us a better risk to reward, and we take it for a sell. Got about 30 seconds before it gives us our opportunity. We'll enter the market on Euro versus the Canadian dollar. And there's our mark off. Going to be targeting 1.6834. 1.61834. All right. The euro versus the Canadian dollar. This is a 15-minute sell. The risk is 4.48. We have entry at 1.62161. We have stop at 1.62234. And we have take profit of 1.61834. Here's your next call for Twitter. And for everyone else. We have the euro versus the Canadian dollar, 15-minute sell. Your entry price is 1.62161. Your stop loss is 1.66234 for 7 pips. Your take profit is 1.61834 for 33 pips. And a risk to reward ratio of 4.48. Again, that's the euro versus the Canadian dollar. Actually, I need to go back and look at the German 30. That's the next one up. And see German 30 on the 1 hour. And we got a call on the German 30. Come in about 12 minutes. If you have not already done so, I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel, to liking the video, or turning on those notifications to keep abreast of when I do go live in the market. This, of course, depends on what platform you're watching on. I am the Pit Messiah, your host for the Quiet Storm Live Trading Session for London. You can follow me on the Pit Messiah at YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and Kick. And we go live every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 2 a.m. Central Standard Time to 4 a.m. Central Standard Time for London, and from 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for New York. If we do get additional action, sometimes I'll go a couple of more hours. There we go. At any rate, we're currently waiting for a 1 hour trade setup on the German 30 to be shown to us at 3:30 in the morning It's about 10 minutes from now. Oh. Oh. All right, we got about 1 minute left to go until we get the mark off of the German 30. And that's a call. Then we taking a short to 23, 748.24. And this is a 3.59 risk. Entry at 24.06.351. Stop at 24.151.33. And take profit at 23.748.24. Here's your next signal for Twitter and for everyone else. We've got the German 30, a 60-minute sell. Entry price is 24063.51. Stop loss is 24151.33 for 8,762 pips. Take profit is 23748.24 for 31,527 pips. The risk reward ratio is 3.59. Again, this is the German 30. It is an indice. All right, nothing new again for 3:30 in the morning. Next ticker is 3:40 a.m. for the futures market, 3:45 a.m. for the market proper. Of 5 minutes to go to the quarter of the hour. 5 minutes. All right, about 1 minute left to go to the quarter of the hour. We'll see if we get some more opportunities here. Okay, it's now 3:45. No immediate dings. We'll know about 3:48 if we'll get anything. If not, our last tickers are at 3:55 a.m. for the futures market and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is a 4-hour candle. Which indicators do I use? Yes, I can tell. So the main setup is exponential moving averages, basically. Let me turn them off to the side so you can see those. So the blue line, that's the 800 exponential moving average. The gray line is the 200 exponential moving average. The aqua line is the 50 exponential moving average. These help me determine uptrends and downtrends. So if you're looking at an asset on any time frame, in this case, the German 30 on the hour, if the blue's on the top, that's the 800 EMA. Gray's in the middle, the 200 EMA. Aqua's on the bottom, the 50 EMA. BGA, that's a downtrend. Conversely, if you have aqua on the top, gray in the middle, blue on the top, the 50 to 200 and 800 EMA, AGB, that's an uptrend. Any other combination of those three lines is consolidation. That's how I'm able to very quickly determine direction of the trade. So obviously, if we're getting into a sell, I want to see BGA. We have it. That's why the trade got into profit so quickly. The other EMAs are the 13 EMA, that's the red line, and the 5 EMA, that's the yellow line. This helps determine the power of the buyers and the sellers. Currently, buyers are in control of the market on the German 30 on the 1 hour, but this is in a downtrend. So this will turn eventually, where the sellers have control of the market. And once that does, price will accelerate into its sell. The next thing that I use is called Poseidon. And this is a built-in indicator. So if you go to indicators and you type in Poseidon, you should be able to say it. Hold on. I'm spelling it wrong. Yeah, POSC. Right. What it does is it marks off the top and bottom of most recent price action. So you can see where price is trapped. And what you're looking for breakouts the top or the bottom of this range. If it breaks out of the top or the bottom, that black turns to an aqua color to let you know basically price is broken out. So it's another confirmation I use just to kind of use price. In addition to that, I use Lux Algo Fair Value Gap. So if you go here, you look at Fair Lux Algo. The very first one, fair value gap looks algo. And I use it to automatically draw the fair value gaps. So in this particular case, you have blue, gray, aqua, which is a downtrend and called a sell. We got a fair value gap down here. We have a fair value gap below where the trade is marked off. So I have a pretty good, strong confirmation that price is going to drop down and fill all these fair value gaps, at least these two. So this is going to hit take profit. It's just a matter of time. Next, I use pivots. If you're not familiar with pivots, basically it's the notion that it's a standard deviation away from market equilibrium. And price action moves from pivot to pivot, from color to color. Lastly, I use Lux Algo order block detector. I used to draw these off manually, but there's an indicator out there that is free where you can go and have the order blocks drawn for you. And it tells you where you basically have concentrations of buy and sells orders in the market. So I don't have to think about that anymore. In addition to that, I have a few others that I take a look at. I have the Trade Development Index. This helps tell me where price truly is as opposed to candles, because candles can lie. You can have candles that are going up when price is actually really going down. This tells me what price is actually doing. I have a currency strength meter. It dynamically tells me the strength of all the major currencies versus one another. Particularly important when I'm trading Forex. But it's also helpful when I'm trading against the US dollar on commodities and spot cryptocurrencies. I have a divergence indicator, which also tells me whether I have bullish or bearish divergence. It marks it off in live time. I don't have to think about that anymore. And I have two indicators that I use. I have average time range and average daily range. They give me an idea of whether or not I have movement outside of something that's regular. Now, the average daily range on the German 30 is 54.43 points. This is obviously much more than that. So it gave me an indication that a sell was coming because it was over the average daily range to the north. And now it's falling the other direction. Now, in addition to these, I use a couple of other, not necessarily indicators, but other things that kind of help me with price. So with cryptocurrency, I'm looking at Bitcoin dominance. I'm also looking at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. What you normally see when you see increases in altcoins, these are coins that are outside the 100, the top 100 in liquidity. Essentially, you have a decrease in price in Bitcoin, followed by a decrease in price in Bitcoin dominance, followed by an increase in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. This is important because it means money is falling out of Bitcoin and money is also flowing out of Ethereum. At the same time, Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. Ethereum is the number one cryptocurrency used to purchase altcoins. So in instances where you have a decrease in Bitcoin, a decrease in Bitcoin dominance, and an increase in Ethereum versus Bitcoin, you normally see a pretty big move on the buy side on altcoins. Conversely, when you see Bitcoin going up, Bitcoin dominance going up, and Ethereum versus Bitcoin going down, you normally see a hit or a sell-off on altcoins. And anything else, you get consolidation in the market. So those combinations of things kind of help me there. In addition, I'm looking at all of the indices for major currencies independent of one another. So you have the AXY, that's for the Australian dollar, the BXY, that's for the Great British Pound Sterling, the CXY, that's for the Canadian dollar, the EXY, that's for the euro, the DXY, that's for the US dollar, the JXY, that's for the Japanese yen, the SXY, that's for the Swiss franc, and for the ZXY, that's for the New Zealand dollar. And the reason I'm looking at this is not only for Forex, but you see these big gaps right here? Those are fair value gaps. So I know eventually when I see these, particularly if they're very large like this, price is going to go back and fill in those gaps. So at some point, even though on the 1 hour, the New Zealand dollar is on a downtrend, it's going to shoot up eventually and fill in that gap in price. And you see that on all of the currencies. Here, it already happened. You saw a gap here. Price was way down here for the Swiss franc. Swiss franc took a rally starting on Wednesday the 5th and went and filled that previous price action. You see it on the Japanese yen. And all these things kind of happen again, over and over again. So that's basically my main setup. I've got the EMAs. I have a number of other confirmations that I don't necessarily have to look at to know. I mean, I've been doing this for 12 years, so I know my setup pretty well. But the main part of it is just EMAs. Basic support and resistance. In terms of the setup for alerts, all this stuff is automatic for me. So we're on a 15-minute pacing. I have alerts on the 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly, monthly, 3 month, and 6 month on 444 different assets. So it's pretty automated for me. All I have to do is go in and determine if the trade is valid. So in this particular case, we got the euro versus the Canadian dollar. We called this out not too long ago, but it hit stop loss, which is fine. We were really aggressive on the stop. It was 7 pips. You don't win every trade. I'm not looking for that at all. I do lose trades, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But we also have the German 30, which we called. That's an indice. And it's on the 1 hour. And it's in profit. So you got less than 1 minute left to the top of the hour. Certainly appreciate you working with me. You want me to take a look at gold versus the United States dollar? Okay. Let's check it out. I mean, there's nothing there. Price is in the middle of the Asian range. It's in consolidation, basically. Nothing's moving. There's no play to be had here. You are in an uptrend on the 1 hour. There is space between the 5 and the 13 EMA. Price is likely to continue to rise, but there's no breakout. I wouldn't touch commodities right now. Also, the US dollar is on a bank holiday today for Veterans Day, so you would be ill-advised to get into gold versus the United States dollar right now. All right, so there's no immediate tickers, so just some housekeeping here. If you haven't already done so, I would appreciate it if you drop me a subscription or follow, like the video, and turn on those notifications to get abreast of when I do go live in the market. I am the Pip Messiah, and you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. And in terms of when we go live, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Central Standard Time for the London session. And then from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. normally for New York. Lately, we've been going longer because we've gotten a lot of action in the New York market. We're likely to do that later this morning as well. So if you're going to join me again, I'll see you at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, sharp, for the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange. If you're coming back for London, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. Central Standard Time. Cheers.